In this video, I want to address and define a few points of confusion between the terminology. What is a cryptocurrency token versus coin versus digital currency versus other terms that get thrown around in this industry? This can get pretty confusing. Sometimes these terms are frivolous and they're interchangeable. People use them because they don't know better. There's a lot of people who are new to the space, but also some of the terms have a lot of technical background to them that you have to be aware when those terms are mentioned. You have to know what's being talked about. So let's talk about all of these one by one. First, let's talk about what is a digital coin. A coin like Bitcoin or Ether, not Ethereum, Ether. Each of these has its own ledger, meaning its own blockchain, and the coins can be mined, meaning you can create new ones, or you can send them as payment or as gift, just like you would money. And most people understand this meaning of cryptocurrency coin. Most people also understand that cryptocurrency coins, they have properties similar to money. There's limited supply. They're divisible. They're fungible, which is a confusing term, but really all that means is they're interchangeable. Just like a dollar is fungible, a dollar is interchangeable. I can give you $1, and if you give me $1 back, it's exactly the same thing. So if I give you 1 Bitcoin and you give me 1 Bitcoin back, it's exactly the same thing. So these coins have a lot of the properties that regular money has. And they're meant to be used just like physical money, although some coins have additional use cases, like you can use them as an investment. Or, according to some people, it's very debatable, and there's a lot of opinions pro and against this, but Bitcoin is sometimes thought of as a gold equivalent these days. Just like the gold is supposed to protect you in case something happens to the dollar currency, now people are saying Bitcoin is a better version of gold for that purpose. And again, there's a big debate among people much smarter than I am, so I'll leave that debate to them. I'm just explaining the additional potential uses for these coins. So you can think of coins just like digital money that you might use to pay for things, to save, just like you would use dollars or whatever currency you currently use. And of course, the investment part of it is that at the moment, these currencies are going up at a much higher rate than other tangible currencies like the dollar, etc. In fact, the dollar is experiencing some inflation, meaning it's losing some value. So a lot of people are investing in these coins for that reason, without wanting to use these coins as payment. They just see it as a good investment opportunity. So that's all related to cryptocurrency coins. Now, let's continue with what is a token. This term gets thrown around a lot and it gets confused a lot. A token is a digital asset that can be used inside the ecosystem of a given project. Sometimes people also call all the cryptocurrencies that are not Bitcoin or Ethereum tokens as well. It's not technically so correct, but that use of the term has taken on a life of its own and it gets used. In that sense, it doesn't really mean that much. And again, you can buy and sell tokens just like you would as an investment, and you can also invest in a project. So let's say there's some project going on and you want to invest. Well, you can buy tokens issued by that project. We'll talk about the nuances of that in a second. And the interesting thing to understand is that tokens can require another blockchain to operate. For example, there's a lot of tokens that are made on the Ethereum blockchain that are not Ether, but they use the technology of Ethereum. And this starts to get a little confusing. Hopefully, as we talk about it, it's not going to be as confusing anymore. It's just that Ethereum tends to be used because it enables a lot of other functionality. One of the functionality is that you can build new tokens on top of it and have those tokens be a part of a different project. So you're basically using the Ethereum blockchain, but for other purposes. But let's still focus on this whole idea of tokens and investment, because if we continue the discussion of tokens, they get used as an investment, but you actually don't get ownership of a company. For example, if you bought a stock, like a regular stock, like let's say of the McDonald's company or Coca-Cola company on the stock market, that's not cryptocurrency, just regular stocks. When you buy one share, you buy a small ownership of that company and you get tangible ownership. You don't get tangible ownership of the token project. You get the token, but not of the project. You see, there's a difference. When you buy a stock, you get a piece of the company and you own a piece of the company. When you buy a token, you don't own a piece of the company or the piece of the project because it's decentralized anyway. You can only buy the tokens. So there was a problem because if you remember, there was a craze of ICOs, initial coin offerings. Right now, there are over 10,000 different cryptocurrencies you can buy. Many of them are pretty good. Many of them are quite worthless. But people just use, for example, the Ethereum blockchain without too much effort, create some kind of a new cryptocurrency on top of the Ethereum blockchain, launch it, say, hey, this is new. It's worth like 0.0001 of a penny, but if it goes to a penny, everybody's a millionaire. And of course, people buy in, and then you're really buying nothing. You don't get ownership of the thing. The project is worthless. And so this created a lot of legal problems because small investors got ripped off. So the government regulators started to look into this because there was a lot of this kind of activity, and there's some of this activity still going on. So the takeaways are that you don't get ownership in the actual project. You just get ownership of a token that can be worth something, but can be worth nothing. And many of the tokens are derived from other blockchains, but some are their own blockchains. Those are the takeaways you need so far. Now, let's continue and let's talk about what's an altcoin. Now, because there's a couple of popular cryptocurrencies and there's 10,000 other currencies, those non-Bitcoin currencies are all essentially altcoins. So the definition of an altcoin is a very similar definition to the first one that we used for token, where it's just all the other cryptos that are not Bitcoin or Ethereum. And if you want to count Ethereum into that, either way, it doesn't matter. There's a little bit of a gray area. An altcoin is not too much of a technical term. It's just a term to understand what's being talked about. And again, some of the altcoins, they're built on top of other blockchains. Again, the most popular one is Ethereum. And some altcoins are totally new blockchains. Some examples of altcoins that are built on top of the Bitcoin's blockchain are Litecoin, denoted by LTC, or Dogecoin, however you want to pronounce that, which is the popular, it has that dog symbol, right? The Elon Musk tweeted about it and it went up a lot. And those are just derived from Bitcoin with some difference in features. And just to finish up these definitions, I want to add a few notes. There's other digital currency like non-cryptocurrency used in video games. We are totally not talking about the regular coins you might buy in some video game. That's digital currency, sure, but it's not cryptocurrency as we know cryptocurrency. There's no blockchain, nothing like that. Also, there's another term that gets thrown around, fiat currency, or just fiat. It's not a term that probably you or I use in regular conversation, so I wanted to explain fiat. It's a simple term, but again, it's not a common term. And that's just money, like a dollar or a euro, that's fiat. That's issued by some central bank, and crypto is not fiat. So sometimes you'll hear these highbrow conversations and they'll mention the term fiat, and it can be a little confusing, like what's fiat? So fiat is just basically money that we're used to before cryptocurrency became a thing, regular money. So those are the definitions of coin, altcoin, token, and a few other definitions that you should be aware of. When you see them used, now you'll know exactly what's being referred to.